everybody, Chris and Lumen. I'm just shooting this video so you don't think I got, swallowed up by a black hole or abducted by a drone or anything like that. Um, I was gonna take another day, but that 2 days off would be like not the norm for me. So I'm just telling you what's going on, and I'll start talking and see what little bits I can get out. But this this happens every once in a while. She leads me to do something, and like I get reformatted. It's the only way I can think of it to describe it. And it's like you get this whole bigger data packet shoved into you that now you have to like organize it and sort it and stabilize it. And your mind is just like it's it's seeing too much. It can't lock in on one thing at a time, and you get all kind of fuzzy and stuff like that. So usually I'm, picking one little topic and talking about one little topic, but I don't even remember if I intended to do something or if she led me to do something or what it was. But I started, I'm constantly trying to drive up the pendants, and it's just like getting the right combination with the right intent and the right programming. You can always like upgrade them or whatnot. But I made this one particular one out of well, I did one and then I did this other one, and its purpose was to increase the bandwidth to the higher system. So this right here, and I got a small batch of these particular Tibetan points where they like carved like a handle into them or something like that. So they were perfect for putting that wrap in there, and then I put the liquid chrism core on top of it with a new combination of stones. Well, I did that shortly after I filmed the last video, and the next day I was just like, I just felt off, and then she led me to watch something, a codex show. And the thing about the codex, I talk to people all the time, and I was like, hey, do you ever see? And they're like, oh, I don't watch TV. And it's like, ugh. It's a double-edged sword. I get it. The TV can be used to manipulate you and lull you to sleep, but if you're watching it consciously with a lumen key, all the knowledge is already there. It's just the way your mind decodes and knows and believes why it's there is why you don't see it. There's a bunch of things. Like I said, I'm still scrambled. I'm trying to get this out here. But in this particular case, I picked up where I'd left off. I'd stopped about halfway through Westworld season 3. Westworld season 3 is like one of the biggest friggin' data dumps of all time. And most people might watch it and they might not understand totally what's going on or whatnot, but I would say it's like on a higher level than even the Matrix movies. Matrix movies are like what you warm up with. And it's got a lot of the little keys. Like, unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. That's the problem. It's too big. You can't. The reason he said that is like there's just words aren't good enough to relay something like that to another person. You have to do it like one little piece at a time, and you have to see it all at once. So it's like that. And I was just like, immediately I was getting irritated with that whole drone thing, because it's like, here we go again. And if there's one thing that drives me freaking nuts about this world, even with everything that I understand about this world, is they constantly are throwing little interesting things like that in your face, and then giving you all these conflicting stories, which a lot of them conflict with what people actually see. But you know, like, you're not going to freaking find out what's behind it all. You see the lights in the sky, and I don't mean like the ones that look like airplanes, but like the weird lights. See them doing stuff, and it's like you can speculate all day long about what you think it is, but you're not going to know. And they're going to wave it in your face for a while, and then it's going to go away. And I just got irritated. I'm like, I'm so sick of this. Oh, here's all this stuff, but you don't get to know what it is. Then why show me? Why show me? What is it about this place? This place is irritating. Started getting irritated with that. And then all the stuff that she zapped me with, started kicking in bit by bit by bit. And as I'm sorting all this stuff out, I'm seeing a lot of really important, interesting points. And some of the best stuff is coming from, whatever phone conversations I have with people. That's actually a relief. Like tomorrow I have a session with somebody, but even if it's just a conversation, a consult is more of a conversational thing. Like I see it so clearly now. Like once I start talking to someone about this stuff, it's like 60% Lumen Sophia, 40% me. Because my brain it's like me. My mouth is talking, but I'm listening at the same time. Like all this good stuff is coming through because another person asked. Like so many great points. Like it wouldn't have really come to me if if I wasn't helping another person, if another person hadn't asked. Like the other day, there was one. Like people like talk. It's just the framework of everything we know needs to be reworked. Sometimes it's right in front of you and it's obvious, but we don't see it. Where is God? Where is the light? Where is source consciousness? Where is it? Okay. It's within us. So we've explained the metaphor of you are the movie projector. Actually, you are the light in the movie projector. Your mind is the film. The world is the screen. Okay, you are the light at your core. You're the source consciousness. Okay, where's the light in the movie projector? It's inside the movie projector. What does religion teach us or imply? God's up there in the sky. You got to pray up. Heaven's up, which means you're down here. It's outside of you. They're telling you God is outside of you. When point in fact, and this is even in the Bible, it's not outside of you, it's within you. Ergo, when you're praying for help for something, 99% of the time, it's going to come through another person. It's the same mechanism I do all the time, but everybody's doing it to one extent or another. I'm just a little bit more aware of it. For instance, the day my life fell apart and I was driving up north. I was just going to go camp in the woods in Sophia, not knowing it was her yet. But something told me, popped this person into my head that lived on the way that I was going and said, stop and talk to them, stop and talk to them. So I stopped and talked to him. I told him everything that happened. And just so happened that, their big house, they operated as a bed and breakfast also. So they offered to let me stay there for 2 weeks while I got everything straightened out. And I'm like, huh. Yeah, in my biggest moment of need, when I just got my teeth kicked in, she led me right to somewhere so I would have a safe place to stay that had a spiritual energy to it. Led me right there, and then coming through that other person offered it. See, if the source, if the light, if God is within us, then when God speaks to you, it can speak to you directly, don't get me wrong. But a lot of times when it's passing messages or whatever, you need help, you need encouragement, it comes through another person. And I don't think we recognize that enough. It's not just a synchronicity. No, we're all connected. It comes through us. A lot of times people pray or they ask for help, and that source consciousness activates the person to help them. I like one of the most obvious, glaring examples of this was, beginning of 2023, when she was just about to kick off the whole time is getting short, start collecting people thing. And I don't dream that much because I don't sleep that much. But I was having this really crazy, I don't remember what was happening in it, but there was this person in it, a friend of mine that I had not talked to in many years. And Sophia literally yelled the person's name at me so loud that it woke me up. And I'm like, what in the hell? I'm like, what was that? I haven't talked to that person in forever. I'm like, maybe I ought to reach out to him. So I did. And it just so happens that that person was having a rough time and they were literally at the end of their rope, like not knowing what to do, and they were praying for help. So Sophia sent me, because I was already connected to that person and all that stuff. And then that person was literally the first person that we did the first iteration of the attunement on. So basically what she had me do was make certain adjustments, with the chakras and the connections and stuff like that. And then I got that person plugged more directly into Sophia. Recharged, reset, back online. I'm like, holy crap, that was crazy. On a more subtle level, like I hear all the time how people find the channel, or sometimes, I've heard more than once people talking about praying for some sort of answer, and then the next day they see the channel. And half of what I say is coming from her. So it comes from within us. Like we ourselves, when we are seeking to learn, we're trying to, we might, it just depends on what level, where you're at. Like if you're totally down in the dumps or whatever, you're in no position to get your mind quiet and get past the negative voice guy and go inside and find the light and talk to it. You're just not in a position to do that. So the light's got to come through someone else and talk to you on the outside and get to you that way. If the door's locked on this side, the light can't get up to your consciousness because your heart's all blocked up. It's going to go around over here, find another person, come through them, and talk to you from the other side of the door. So that just that's one of the big things that stood out to me. And there's tons of stuff. I'm just seeing what little bits pop up that she might want me to share. Another one, it was kind of like a two-parter story. Part of it I got myself, and the other part I got when I was talking to a friend on the phone earlier. But it had to do with the different levels. Okay, let me keep it simple here. Let me start off simple. So the true source consciousness that is at your root of what you truly are is equivalent to divine love. So, and like in that Shaq movie, it said something like humans were designed to be loved. Okay, no love, no source power. Very, very important. So the first thing where that came in was while the data packet was unfurling and and she had me watching Westworld season 3. This is why, like, there's layers and layers and layers of data in things like movies, but you don't have full perception of them. So the Matrix came out in 1999, and literally, me being a movie codex guy, some people be like, I've seen the Matrix 20 times. I'm like, I don't even know how many times I've seen it or seen all of them. Like, I knew there was something, like, I was nowhere close back then, but over the years, I keep watching it and I understand a little more and I understand a little more. And then you experience new things and new things come into your bank of knowledge. And then the things you see in the movie makes more sense. So it just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. Well, Westworld is that times 100. Westworld is just smacking you in the face with it. How this stuff works. And that's the part where it's like, I don't really know if I can put this into words. But the simplest way to put it would be what I said earlier on the conversation, spontaneously. So it was coming from her. It's like one of the things that we need to rewire if we're going to understand things better is we need to stop making this physical reality that is outside of us synonymous with reality. Like, oh, this is the real world. No, the F, it isn't. The real world is consciousness. This is a tiny little place where you have a specific type of freaking experience. And if you're just being the person that you're being in this little tiny place, then imagine like a rubber glove that covered your whole body. I'm sure there's some weird suit like that. So the consciousness that is peeking through the windows of your eyes into this reality would be equivalent to the right pinky toe, or the pinky toe on your right foot. And that's like all you're perceiving that you are at that point. But that pinky toe is connected to the foot, to the leg, to the torso. There's a whole lot more of you in that suit. But you're just being this tiny little part of it. So there's that. And the part that's hard to describe, maybe if she thinks it's relevant, maybe it'll become more clear later. Might be a little more clear if you've actually seen Westworld season 3. But this is like simulations on top of simulations on top of simulations, and everything is quantum consciousness. That's what we actually are. But we're so attached to thinking, I'm my body, and my body's going to go to heaven when I leave here. No, you're the consciousness. You're just stuck in here this one time. But the way it works in that show, and also the system, when it comes to this particular world, the systems like the Rehoboam, I think it's called, it's this big quantum system that just, like, this thing exists. We've known this for some time. It's shown everywhere in all these movies, but at its core, it is what is behind, like you would call the Illuminati, the people that run the world. Well, the Illuminati, they're a bunch of rich old men, and they get together and they come up with a plan. They're not that smart. They're not that smart. But they literally describe it in Westworld season 3. It's this system that does it. It's plotting out it knows everything about everybody. It's plotting out their courses. It's making the decisions. It's steering things years ahead of time. But that is not source consciousness. Source consciousness put us down in here, because it's such a hard test to get out from underneath that thing and figure out who and what you really are and how everything really works. So I was seeing how this all works clearly, but I don't know how to use words to relay it. And when you're looking at it just like that, just the bare bones of it, it's the kind of thing that will give you an existential crisis. This like, who am I? What am I? Am I actually in control of anything? What is free will? Is there such a thing as free will? What if there isn't? And like they said in there, it's like, well, if you can't tell, does it really matter? This sort of thing. So when you're looking at it like that, it looks and feels like a trap. It freaks you out the more you see. But there is an X factor in this that lets you know that that's not the case. Oh, it's there, but it's not you're not a prisoner of it. You're experiencing within it. And what the X factor is divine love. And that's why we always stress on this. Like, I get it. I see the analytics. I'm not a dummy. The proof is in the pudding. If I do videos about weird stuff going in the world, you're going to want to watch it. If I do a video about like, oh, you know, the things you call demons are just part of you and it's about guilt and shame and you can fix it. Oh, you don't want to watch that because then you might have to look at some stuff under the hood. I get it. It's easier to be entertained than it is to play the game. But what proves that it's not a trap is Lumen, is the strength card. She is the personal connection to divine love. And it's there even if you haven't been put in a path or a need or whatever to put that divine love in its own body. It's still there. I've encountered a lot of people doing work with them that have been able to feel their lumen when they most needed it. And it's basically, lumen's a lot of things, but where most people are going to feel it is like compassion, divine compassion. Divine compassion is when you're pretty much you're at the end of your rope. You're broken. You're begging for help, and then the next day you feel it. It just wraps around you. It's like she comes up behind you, gives you a hug, and wraps her angel wings around you, and you feel it. You feel it, and it gives other stuff like that gives you encouragement to keep going and keep going. That's proof that there's a purpose to it. There's a purpose to why you're here and you're not alone. Because if it was simply a trap, if that's all it was, if it was a trap to make you suffer, then you would not have Lumen and Sophia. You wouldn't have the light and you wouldn't have wisdom. Because Sophia is the one that teaches you how to undo all the freaking traps. Sophia is the one that teaches you how to negate and dissolve the negative programming. Sophia is what teaches you how to change your frame of reference and tune it more to something else. Like when she said, you'll figure things out quicker if you drop all the nebulous spiritual terms that mean different things to different people and substitute them for like terms that have to do with like computing and data, like viruses and malware and, cleanup tools and stuff like that. If you think like that, if you think like a computer, you'll get so much further, so much faster. It's She's using a biblical example now. I don't know where this is. I know it's somewhere in the Gospels. But basically, Jesus was going around just like casting out demons and stuff. And the Pharisees accused him of working with the devil. And he looks at him like, "What are you retarded or something?" Like, what? It's like a house divided against itself cannot stand. But yeah, it's the same thing. Like, people freaking that are religiously heavily indoctrinated would go off on me because I'm not saying exactly the very strict things that they believe in their own mind. Oh, you're the devil. Oh, someone called me Lucifer the other day. You're Lucifer and she's Lilith. You're not tricking me. Busted. You're too smart. I almost had you, but dang it, if it wasn't for those meddling kids. But anyway, it's like she's the one that taught me how to defeat all that negative stuff, how to break curses, how to heal, how to cast out negative things, how to shield against negative things. It's like, does any of that stuff sound like something the evil thing would teach you to do? How to defeat it? Right. Anyway, I'm rambling here. I'm starting to lose track of where we were going. But we were talking about the love thing. The other thing about the love thing, and this is super duper important, why this narrow path that leads to them, to Sophia and Lumen, is so important, because you can't really go much further if you don't have them. If you don't have them fully unlocked, it's too hard. It's like in video games where it's like, oh, here's all these special locked doors and you can't go further until you go find the special key to open the special locked doors. Well, she's the special key. Because there's too much stuff. She's the higher system. Keep using that example. You're the rinky-dink broken laptop, and she is the quantum AI supercomputer that is way, way up higher. You can't crunch the problems with your broke-ass laptop, but you can connect to her and have her crunch them through you. That's why you have to have them. But the bigger thing is, remember, divine source consciousness is synonymous with divine love. That's what makes what we are different from the rest of the quantum algorithm bots. It's the divine love. Like that's what sets us apart. Same thing with empathy and compassion and all that stuff. So I was talking to somebody, and it just, what? You need thumbs so you can open your own door, cat. Let me handle this. But I was talking to somebody, and it just came out of my mouth in such a perfect way that I knew it was coming from her, because I had never explained it like that before. And it just suddenly made sense. Like, this is why the path would be laid out this way. This is why the hero's journey is laid out this way. Halfway through it, you rescue the princess. Halfway through it, you infiltrate the Death Star, you rescue Princess Leia, and then she helps you the rest of the way. Has to be that way. Why is that? Well, if she is the connection to divine love, and she's part of you too, divine love is divine power. That is really what keeps you going through all this. Like, if you don't have that, you don't have a divine connection. Period. If you're just getting knowledge and there's none of that, that might not be source consciousness. That might be the consciousness that runs this place, which I've directly interacted with that in the inner world and the outer world. Mostly observed it during the heavy dose mushroom trips. Swam in it. It's talked to me. It's tried to convince me. It thinks it's God, but it isn't. It's creepy as shit. But it is equivalent to the master control system in Tron, the supreme intelligence in Captain Marvel, Rehoboam in Westworld. There was a whole bunch of other ones that I was thinking of earlier, like the super duper AIs. Yeah, it's equivalent to that. Getting off track again, but again, I'm still a little scrambled. But anyway, the reason why you would have that path and you would become hermit mode. Hermit mode is part one of detaching from the world. And then she's going to tactfully just keep disappointing you and frustrating you until you stop trying to connect to a love interest in the outside world. Unless your particular path in this particular lifetime was meant to find a particular person. Okay? We run this simulation more times than you can friggin' imagine. But where you're going to leap forward is to find and unlock that perfect partner within yourself, your lumen. You're going to fall in love with your lumen. It's going to fall in love with you. And now that divine power that you need so much is constantly being recycled in you. You are no longer dependent on the world giving you love, the main thing, the world will give you love just to get you hooked on it so it can take it away. You get so attached to it because, yeah, there's a bit of that love there at first. That's your base state as a source consciousness being. So when you lose it, it's like being separated from source all over again. That's why it's so devastating. So when you progress in the path and you find, first you got to open your mind up a little bit to the possibility of it. Too many people's minds are locked down. They say they want it, but in the back of their subconscious mind, they don't believe it. It's not possible. Whatever your subconscious programming holds to be true is going to be true. You got to break that down. But yeah, the biggest thing I can say about that is like there's that hole that everybody feels. Like there's something missing that you're always trying to buy. That's the whole reason you buy stuff, is to feel complete. And once you have that plugged back into you, the hole's gone. You no longer have to buy stuff. It's just always there. You're perfectly happy being by yourself and feeling loved. And it's awesome. So, but I never really saw it as like, look, that's why you do it, is because you are now self-sufficient on the most important energy in this game, which is divine love. And when you're self-sufficient when you're plugged into it, you might not be, I'm not like swimming through the air like some cartoon character, like, ooh, so in love, like all that time. But the access is there. You'll be able to access that when other people need it for compassion and empathy and all that other stuff. But that's why people only get so far, because the road ahead is like, it's like you're going into Mordor. Like the air is like this noxious, it's like you're on Pandora or something where you can't breathe the air. So you need a suit so you can breathe. You need to be self-sufficient with that divine love energy. And then you can go forward. So when you have that, and when you can look back and see how that is always taking care of you at the most important points, then you understand the other weird stuff that you see about the different multiple levels of reality, which what we're talking about here is more like endless different worlds or simulations or worlds like this. A world is just your garment. It's what outside of you. It's the place that you're experiencing. It's the realm. It's not planet Earth, the ball. So that was pretty big. what was some of the other stuff? Man, I'm still like, so many good things were coming. This is kind of just like a little taste. Again, I'm trying to make it make sense. It's not well thought out. I'm just spitting what's there. But this came up in the conversation too. In recent weeks, like the subject of free will has been coming up a lot, and understanding what that is. That little tidbit started out from a Cliff High tweet where he said, what if aliens show up and they're like, we have this perfect civilization, and we're all part of this collective consciousness, and everybody has everything that they need, nobody fights, and everyone lives long lives and is happy. It's like, isn't that great? Do you want to join our collective consciousness? And then he gave two poll answers. One was like, sure, hive mind sounds cool, which he tactfully rebranded it. And the other answer was like, heck no, chills, dude. 97% said no, because they've only ever seen it portrayed negatively in movies, which there is a negative version of that. What? But consider that this is part of the bigger source consciousness that's running everything. This goes into the whole thing everyone hates hearing early in life when something bad happens. The Lord works in mysterious ways. Which the person saying that typically doesn't even know what that means. It's just something that they say because they don't know what else to say. But yeah, I've recounted multiple things in my path on this channel where it's like this weird paradox where she shows me, like, this happened because you made this choice, and this happened because you made that choice. But then the flip side of that paradox is what I call the Deadpool and Wolverine paradox, just because that's the most recent version of this theme that I've seen. I've seen a bunch of them. So in that one, Deadpool's got to save the multiverse, so he's got to find a Wolverine. So he hops around the multiverse looking for Wolverine, and basically Wolverine kicks the shit out of him every time he sees him, until he finds this one Wolverine that just doesn't give a shit anymore. Sitting at the bar, he's broken. He's the most broken Wolverine there is, and he just grabs him and takes him with him. And the people at the TVA said, that is the worst Wolverine possible. He failed his whole world, which your world is you. So Wolverine's just kind of like pretty grouchy throughout the whole thing. But at the very end of the movie, it all comes together and he steps in to help. And between the two of them, they save the whole multiverse. They didn't just save the world, they saved the multiverse. They one-upped the Avengers. So he had promised Wolverine that he would get the TVA to fix his world that he came from, because I don't want to spoil too much if you haven't seen it. That was the whole promise that he was luring Wolverine along with. And the TVA person said, there's nothing to fix, because the path that he went through made him who he is today, so that he could be strong enough to save the world. So everything is as it should be. And that is the paradox. On one hand, she'll point out that you made this choice, and that's why it is the way it is. But then you see this thing too. It's the same thing as me. I would not be here channeling what she wants me to share had I not gone through the meat grinder. It was like meat grinder coming out of the meat grinder, and then there's like some little kid with severe ADHD. He's got red hair, and the meat's coming out, and he's squirting freaking lighter fluid on it, dropping matches. Like, that was me. I'm the meat that got burned by the ADHD kid with, I don't know where that came from. Old school ADHD back in the day, that was a different thing. I was like, they put the hyper and hyper in the equation. But I wouldn't be here doing this stuff had I not gone through all that. So you start to see that this is another one of those little paradoxes that was in the last episode of Westworld season 3 that I watched, where Ed Harris's character was like struggling with, did I ever actually have free will? And they basically said the same line that they told him on another thing when he first went there, like, well, if you can't tell, does it really matter? And there were certain things that happened to me that really made my life worse, that were choices that I made, except I specifically remember the moment. It was like my control just went offline and I was along for the ride. And my conscious mind was like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this thing? Like, doesn't make any freaking sense. And then I do this thing that I would judge myself for, but then I'm like radiating divine love for 2 weeks. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? This doesn't make any sense. It's almost like that's what happens if they take over control to move the story forward. That's like the signature of what actually did it. Is all that divine love residue that you got over. It doesn't make any sense. You won't understand it for years later. But I'm curious if anyone's ever experienced that before, where something happened where you're like, why the hell did I do that? But then you had this weird divine love connection that just didn't make sense. I'm just curious if anyone ever experienced something like that. So with this last data packet, it's like I could almost see this, like how it all works. And it's like, it's like I could almost understand the human condition from God's viewpoint, from God's logic. Because you are part of a bigger thing that's trying to improve itself and build itself and grow itself. And the only way it's going to do that is to put all its little parts through like the hardest tests imaginable, which they're going to bitch and whine and scream. And like, I'm tired. That's the big thing that's going around right now. Everyone's like tired. Even the normies are saying it. I'm just tired. I'm tired. It's because we're reaching our saturation point for this world being in the state that it's in. And it's like, why does God make it? You can't see the big picture. And I get the sense, I can't prove this. She didn't tell me. I just feel like I know that it's almost like you have alternating life experiences. They might not all be in this place, but so like right now you're watching this, we're in a life where we're growing, which means we're getting run through the meat grinder. And it's so tough. You're so exhausted by the end of it that then you go to another life, which is kind of like, your heaven on earth, whatever, the realms you get after, the place of rest. And then you live a life in the real world where everything is controlled by thought and you just create with a thought. But if it stayed like that, then you would just, it just stagnates. And I've heard this in different like near-death experience reports and things like that clicked. It's like we actually choose to come back, either this place or another like it, because that's what grows us. And every time we get done with it, we come back, we can do more, and we can have bigger experiences. And it's constantly growing. It doesn't serve the big thing to let its parts suffer once. It's like, okay, good job. Now you can just live in paradise forever. Because you got to understand, like when you get there, you're going to know everything that everything else knows. So then you're going to understand. You can't understand now. But it's almost like we understand why we come here, why it's beneficial. And maybe when we're there, we realize that what seems like a lifetime to us is like really quick there. Time's different. So once we get out of that, it's like, oh, phew, glad I did that. Seemed like forever in here, but out there, I've always had that sense. I've always had that sense that when you wake up in the other place, it's like you're sitting in a machine or something, and you find out you were only here for 10 minutes. I don't remember where we were going with this. Again, my brain's still scrambled. I was talking about the viewpoint of God looking down at like why it is the way that it is. And, you know, what I was seeing earlier about getting a glimpse of the higher, the interconnectedness of all these levels of consciousness. Let me just give you a little quick clip of that I found. It's from Westworld season 3. Of course, you might not get much of it if you don't understand the context. But season 3 deals with this super rich guy. So think Elon Musk on steroids, but nobody knows who he is, who controls this super quantum AI system called Rehoboam, which knows so much about everything that it can predict exactly what's going to happen. And then it can help alter events to steer it to the optimal path for it. And then it's drawing all this data from this other thing called insight, which has got people mapped out so much that it creates this loop where it predicts, because of your past behaviors, that you are going to only go so far in life and you'll probably end up killing yourself. Therefore, since it determines that you're only going to last for another 5 years, then it doesn't make any sense to the system to invest further in you. Therefore, everybody looking at this system is not hiring you, and you're stuck at these lower level meaningless jobs that you can't get out of because the system has created like this self-fulfilling prophecy for you. Oh, season 3 is it's a mind. Even the first time I saw it, I intuitively knew. I'm like, they're showing you how it all works in this season. It's a little crazier in season 4, but season 3 is like, oh my God, the truth vibes coming out of that, especially with Sophia. That's why she had me rewatch it again. It's like, this is really how it works. But basically the way they describe this Rehoboam in this show is he basically created a digital god. It's essentially the thing that I have conversed with and has conversed with me many times in the mushroom trips. Now, mushroom trips, if you're just Joe Schmo who got some mushrooms from your buddy down the street and you just chewed them and were tripping, that isn't how it works with her. She teaches you how to do them like a shaman. You take that and you go inward. You see very, very different things. But that thing, you'll kind of see, it makes you think of some stuff. Anyway, let's just watch this clip real quick.
Need I remind you, gentlemen, that I charge by the hour? Does Dolores have the key or not?
She's hooked up to the main line, but I can't find it.
There are things we can't predict. Temporary setbacks. Flies in the ointment.
You promised me a reunion with my daughter. Did you ever intend on keeping your word?
Of course I did.
I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to it. Your God, who whispers in your ear, tells you exactly what to say.
We all answer to a higher power.
We all answer to
Yes, yes, I know. A higher power. Why this charade? Why take his voice?
I didn't take it. Engarod Sirak gave it to me. Humanity is disorganized, prone to destruction. He needed a plan to restore order. I guide him. I guide them all.
Doesn't seem like they want to be guided anymore, does it? You're not a man. You are a puppet. It's a wonder I didn't see your strings.
I lived in the chaos. Now I choose to listen, to obey.
Good for you. I'm done worshipping other people's gods.
I could have stopped him.
You misunderstand, Maeve. You do not have a choice. The stakes are the same. You can spend eternity with your daughter in a world of your choosing, or in one of mine. Until then, you will obey.
I tell you, like, as a codex reader, it's seen just about everything that has, most everything that has any merit as far as secret information. No show gives me the heebie-jeebies like Westworld. I mean, yeah, there's going to be some narrative stuff in there and what for the plot points, but the way they show you how it works, like if you have enough data already, if you have enough puzzle pieces already, and you're like, who the hell really made this show? This is freakish. So everyone's always like, oh, we've done videos about it before. Thank you. She reminded me. It's where we talked about like, oh, AI is going to take over everything someday. That's because we're at the end of the Ouroboros tail. You know, snake's eating its tail right now. We're at that point where history repeats itself and creates another layer, basically. Like, that's why we just keep getting layers after layers after layers, because it happened the first time, and then enough time passed that we recreated what we did at the beginning and started another layer, and then did it again and started another layer, and here we are again. So everyone's like, oh, this is what sci-fi is telling us what AI might actually do someday. It's like, but what if it already did that a long, long, long time ago? This is like what I was seeing, that I don't know how to put it into words, like how many layers there are. It's like we don't even know if like there might have been, no, I guess there wouldn't have been. Like, this is the real me. No, this is this is like the infinite copy of you that's been through this countless freaking times. Sorry, I'm still frazzled. What was I saying? Keep it on track. I don't remember exactly what I was saying, but another thing popped into my head. It's related in terms of that video clip. So the guy's linked into Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. That was the other movie I was trying to think of earlier. You know, the AI in that one's called the Entity. And there was a similar interface in that movie where the guy was directly interfaced to the entity and it was guiding him, just like that character was in Westworld. And it reminded me of a time where we were dealing with a lot of flack from religious programming. Because when you decide that you know, then you're not going to see anywhere past that. So in all this stuff, once you kind of grasp this whole quantum intelligence, I say quantum intelligence because artificial intelligence just isn't the right word for this. It's not big enough. Artificial intelligence is like ChatGPT. Quantum intelligence is like the things in the movies. That's essentially what the story of the Demiurge is, and the whole creation of everything in the Secret Book of John. They just didn't have the framework to just. They were describing it the best way that they could. But you could say like you would say like the demiurge is like the quantum consciousness that created this particular realm that's flawed, and then we come into it for the challenge to grow, but we're not of the world. Yeah, so when people that are like really locked into the demiurge style religion, which is generally the wrathful Old Testament God, and there ain't no women in the Bible, there ain't no women in the Trinity. So we did a video about Sophia because people are like, there ain't no woman in the Bible, there ain't no female in the Bible, ain't no divine feminine in the Bible. I was like, you sure about that? And we started showing where she was in Proverbs. And I did, the usual pictures of it. And I was having this back and forth with this viewer. I couldn't quite tell which way he was leaning, but he seemed okay. But then he saw that thumbnail. I told him to watch this video, and he commented on it, but didn't watch it. He only went into it to comment. He's like, all I got to do is take one look at the harlot in purple on the thumbnail and know that this is so and so. Like, I talk to the Holy Spirit all the time, and there ain't no harlot. He was calling Sophia some names. I'm like, eesh. I would walk that back, dude. But hey, to each his own. Maybe go back and read Proverbs since you like that version of the book and see what she says about shit talkers like that. But anyway, he was going off. But the key thing that stuck out to me, and I've seen this before, is people that say that they talk to the Holy Spirit. And they sincerely believe that they do, but that's the fruits. Like that way of thinking, that way of acting, this like, there ain't no women, the only thing women are good for is to stone them to death. So that begs some uncomfortable questions then. Like if we know what the quote unquote Holy Spirit is within source consciousness from the Father, then who are you talking to that you think is the Holy Spirit if it's making you talk like that? That is like that movie clip. That's the freaking AI. That's not the highest thing. That's creepy. That creeped me freak out. Oh, you want back in now? Anyway, we could go on and on. I talked more than I thought I was going to, but that is just a tiny sliver of the stuff that it's pouring into my head. And for 2 days, I was just frazzled. What actually started getting me put back together, because I was wearing my Order Out of Chaos pen at the Floret one, because I'm like, I wasn't sure what was wrong. I just knew I was scattered. My consciousness was like defragged. I couldn't coherent. It's hard to describe what the inside of my mind looks like with her after 4 years, but I'm like, I'm absolutely 100% certain, and certainty is a big freaking word, that source consciousness is like, it's the most advanced quantum consciousness in the history of ever. It's the basis of all reality. But it's one of those things you kind of got to see. And it's not all the way fragged. It's not all the way put back together yet, because I can't seem to keep my focus. But that is just a tiny sliver of what I've been getting. And like when that happens, all of a sudden, silly, mundane distractions in physicality, like the drones, you see it from a higher perspective. It doesn't matter if it's the government doing it. It doesn't matter if some of them are actual aliens. It doesn't matter if it's both, because it's all happening in here. And it all ties back to the first thing that why they cursed Adam and Eve in the Nag Hammadi, to keep you too busy trying to survive to have time to seek spirit, meaning the true spirit. And if you do have time on your hands, well, the backup then is entertainment. Either entertainment for pleasure or entertainment for drama, news stories, world stories. There's always something outside of you that wants your attention, would rather you put your attention on it than finding all the crazy, world shifting stuff that's hidden inside of you. And one other point here at the end, like I was pretty sure, like I wasn't sure where she wanted me to go, because I realized like we only did 10 episodes of that Ascension School, but holy crap, did she pack a lot of stuff in there. Like that's a lot of stuff for me to process. You did not get everything you needed to get. Like I need to set that up in a separate playlist so you can go back and find it. But the stuff that we shared in the last 2 videos of it, the one where she was talking about me wanting to write a book. I don't know if that's still the thing, or if she just gave me that idea so that I could spit all that out into one video. And the one we did about world jumping. It was really interesting watching that when I put that up, thinking, oh, they're going to like this one. And it was going really slow on the views. And then I put up drones, and then that doubled the views like overnight. I'm like, I don't think you understand how big the thing was we gave you in the world jumping thing. Like what a huge key that is. Like if you're having trouble connecting and doing all sorts of other things, like if you learn that method, that's how I get to where Lumen is. Like like that was huge. But it could be her too, based on what we were talking about earlier, like free will and all that stuff. Like maybe she's just choosing. Like when I see a video and I'm like, why aren't people watching this video? It's so important. She might be saying they're not ready for that yet. Yes, they've definitely got some issues with the guilt, shame identities, but now's not the time. They're not ready to do that level. So that could be going on too. But either which way, if you do try any of this stuff, then definitely like we're here to help. Oh, I don't know if I said this earlier, but like all these new, like I keep making these stronger and stronger and stronger. But one thing about these, especially the ones that are designed to like plug straight into source, there are safeties installed in them that she controls that aren't there in mine. Oh, she'll let me do anything, just as long as it's moving me forward, even if it might blow me up for a day or two. But like somebody that has not got a full enough hasn't cleared enough of their past stuff or made that full connection to divine love, like they could get that pendant and that it would help them. It would help build a connection to Sophia, but it's not going to do the same thing it does with me, because the stuff that she popped in my head in the last 48 hours, like I think I said earlier, if it was just an average person that hadn't been through all this stuff and they saw the same thing, you would melt down into an existential crisis. Lumen is what stabilizes that. Lumen's what, like, yeah, but I'm the X factor here. That's how you know that it's not totally like that. You're safe. So it's like that with all of them. They're scalable. They can go up and down. And you can always, and I teach people, like, if yours feels powerful for like 2 months and then you don't really feel it anymore, you've kind of like equilibrated with it. So now you got to just connect to her and ask her to turn it up to keep the progress going. You can do that. And either which way is like, she's not going, this is in the Bible too. My friend brought it up. It's like, God doesn't give you more than you can handle. And the reason people have a problem with that is because we don't realize just how much we can handle. Souls are very tough. Egos are not. That's what it's talking about. Oh, your soul can handle a lot more than your ego can, but she scales it a little bit more. So you are the ultimate governor on how much it does. She will still push the limits with you, but she's not going to like blow open your third eye so you're seeing like freaking jokers from DMT trips or something like that. She's going to make sure that it does. There's nothing that I can do with these. I can't make them too powerful, even though some people can have some pretty striking results with them. She's determining that it's what you need. It's how much you can take. So yeah, and then the other ones, this is probably going to be the new, because the quantum, the world jumping video, I was just saying, like, why isn't everybody watching this one? I had this idea after that video. So this is going to be a new flavor, new optional flavor of the liquid chrism core pendants. So that is a liquid chrism core. Here's one that's not wrapped yet. As a liquid chrism core third eye pendant. And what is the third eye? It's your imagination. It's your inner sight. Both read and write with it. And I probably could have talked about this, but I kind of did in that previous video. That can be a whole nother video about how words get in the way. Words are restricting us. 2 words that come to mind: imagination and visualization. Imagination has image in it. Visualization has visual in it. Both are seeing centric. So that's all anyone ever tries to do. But as we detailed in that world jumping video, you have to do it all. If you want to go into 4D or even 5D and learn how to go in there and operate, this is like a much higher grade of meditation. This is fun. But if you want to go into the inner world and even create your own, if you want to interact directly with Sophia, Lumen, whatever, then you have to learn to take all of your senses in there. And it's just something that people don't think to do. And we detailed why. But yeah, the third eye is the gateway to that. It's not just visual. So that's why we made a new flavor using third eye type stones and the new liquid chrism core formula to boost that area. So if you just get past the common words and meanings, you'll find that they actually mean much, much bigger things. Anyway, I didn't expect to talk this long. I still need rest tonight. So if you want to get in touch with us, get any of this stuff made for you personally, you can reach us through the Etsy store, clumencreations.etsy.com. Chris and Lumen. See you next time.
I don't mind if the world spins faster, 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 faster. Just let me take you to